Hello, clever people, and welcome to my review for Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. So this ninth episodic installment in the Star Wars franchise follows the story of Rey, Finn, and Poe, the dynamic trio of good guys from the first one, and they are faced with a new threat when a new mysterious figure who has arisen from the dead starts to want to commission something called the Last Order. And this Last Order will basically eliminate any system in the galaxy that doesn't agree with the First Order. And Kylo Ren is caught in the middle of the situation as he is pulled both to the dark side and the light side. So this was obviously a huge movie. Everybody was excited to see this. I mean, it's the culmination of the entire Skywalker saga. And sure, we've seen the Skywalker saga end twice before. We saw it end in 1983 when The Return of the Jedi came out. We saw it end in 2005 when Revenge of the Sith came out. And now we're seeing it end again in 2019 with The Rise of Skywalker. However, this one does feel a bit more final because now you have three trilogies. You have the originals, you have the prequels, and you have the sequels. And this was definitely a huge burden on J.J. Abrams' shoulders because he had a lot to live up to. He had to sum up 40 years, or 42 years, I guess, of filmmaking, some excellent films, some not so great films, and he had to culminate it all together. And unfortunately, a lot of people didn't like the results. It currently has a 56 or 57% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's around the mid-50s. And that's not terrible. That means that the majority of people did like it. A slight majority of people did at least enjoy it. But that doesn't mean that it was a great movie. So I went into The Rise of Skywalker a bit tentative. I actually saw it by leading up to it with the Star Wars Marathon, which was episodes 1 through 8 non-stop with few 10-minute breaks in between in theaters, which was a fantastic experience. I loved doing that, seeing all 8 movies before leading up to episode 9, and that was a wonderful experience. And what I can say is that I liked The Rise of Skywalker. In the end, it satisfied me in terms of being a Star Wars movie. And that's what I think a lot of people are not, in their reviews they aren't mentioning that, and I think that's really all I needed out of this, was the type of satisfying action and adventure that I get out of a Star Wars movie. And yes, this movie is messy, yes, it's very problematic, but in the end, I got the satisfaction and the enjoyment and the adventure and the fun that is brought with a Star Wars movie. And I've seen this twice now, and both times the fun stayed. And honestly, I think I'm going to buy this movie on Blu-ray because I enjoy watching it. It was a quick 2.5 hours. It went by very fast, and I think overall it was enjoyable. The performances from everybody, yet again, are very strong, especially Adam Driver. He really is a fantastic actor, and this decade has been great for him. I can't wait to see what he's going to do in the 2020s. But in this film, he is playing Kylo Ren for a third time, and yet you can see so much new things in his performance. You can see so much more character brought out, and it's not like he wasn't bringing out character before. It's just that each movie, he develops the character more and more, and you can see more and more of their struggle, which I think is fantastic. And the rest of the ensemble is really, really strong as well. They don't do anything necessarily outstanding like Adam Driver did, but they're all very strong. The visual effects are really good. The action is super fun to watch. So in the end, I did like this movie. However, like a lot of people online and like a lot of people have been saying, it's very problematic. There's a lot of things that this movie does that in the hands of a different director, I think could have turned out far better. I like J.J. Abrams. I think he's really good at making these type of super fun, kind of sentimental, nostalgia-based, while also blending in some new stuff type movies. He did it with The Force Awakens. He did it with the old Star Trek movies, which I like Star Trek, and I like the Into Darkness. I'm not a big fan of Beyond, but still, I like the first 2 Star Trek movies. I thought Super 8 was good, so I think that he is a good director. However, I don't think he should have directed this movie because it kind of gave off the impression that Disney did not know what they were doing when making this movie. Not just this movie, but this whole trilogy. Because in episode 7, J.J. Abrams set up a lot of, I think he calls them mystery boxes, a lot of question marks, a lot of things left open to learn about characters, which is fine if that's the direction that they wanted to go with there. Then episode 8 came along, and personally, episode 8 is my second favorite Star Wars movie. I love that movie to pieces. And what I love so much about it was that it completely subverted expectations. It went far away from what what The Force Awakens was planning on doing. And then when you got to The Rise of Skywalker, originally this was supposed to be directed by Colin Trevorrow. Then his movies kind of took a downturn and you realized that he wasn't that great of a director. So they handed it back to JJ and Colin left. And JJ, all he did was retcon everything that happened in The Last Jedi and try to continue everything that happened in The Force Awakens. And that was a problem because it's like, The Last Jedi, why does that movie even matter now? And then JJ's trying to cram 2 movies worth of stuff into this 2.5-hour block. And because of that, The Rise of Skywalker felt really rushed. There's a lot of great emotional moments in here that could have been so powerful that honestly could have made me cry, but it took forever for them, it didn't take forever for them to happen. They were rushed through so quickly. It was so speedy. It was like, especially a pretty significant thing halfway through the movie involving Kylo Ren. There's a pretty significant scene, and while his arc has been built up over 3 movies, I still felt rushed because this movie went by way too quickly. And I think the problem here was that you either needed to give JJ all 3 Star Wars movies so that he could do what he wanted, or you needed JJ to set up what was going to happen, and you needed Rian Johnson and some other director other than JJ to follow the plan that JJ set up. Because if that had happened, this would be a consistent, strong trilogy. But The Rise of Skywalker kind of damages the trilogy as a whole. I still think it's really good, but it shows that Disney did not know what they were doing. They were flying by the seat of their pants. They were trying super hard to push 3 movies out and in a short amount of time, and it just didn't work. Honestly, I think the problem with The Rise of Skywalker is that it was rushed. This should have come out in 2020 because having to turn around from Colin Trevorrow, having JJ trying to cram 2 movies worth of stuff in, and so much going on in this movie made it feel overwhelming and underwhelming simultaneously. You were overwhelmed by what was happening, but you were underwhelmed by the quality of the movie. And in the end, The Rise of Skywalker failed in completing this trilogy. Now, that's a lot of negativity. I want to restate. This gave me all the satisfaction that a Star Wars movie needs to. By the end of this, I had a smile on my face, I left the theater happy, and I really do think that this is a strong Star Wars movie. And I think that years to come, people won't necessarily understand all of the negativity that this one got. I don't think that any of the prequels are better than this one, even Revenge of the Sith. I like Revenge of the Sith. I discovered that when I saw the Star Wars Marathon, but I think that The Rise of Skywalker is better than all of the prequels because it doesn't spend so much time on politics that don't really matter. It's still a fun Star Wars movie. However, it really does show that Disney did not know what they were doing when making this movie, and that's very unfortunate. So in the end, The Rise of Skywalker is fun. It's enjoyable, and honestly, if you haven't seen it yet or you're holding off because reviews were bad, but you like Star Wars, I know there's probably not many of you who did that, but still, go and check this movie out. I encourage you to because you will still be satisfied by it. It's just a problem where JJ didn't know what to do. He was trying so hard to cram 2 movies into one, and in the end, it just kind of ended up being a planning-wise disaster. I will give The Rise of Skywalker a 6.75 out of 10. Alright, that concludes my review for The Rise of Skywalker. So, what are your thoughts on this film, or how would you rank the Star Wars movies? Comment in the comment section below, and let me know. I'm Robert Burke, and this has been The Clever Critics. Goodbye.